Welcome everyone to our session today about life cycle events. I just want to say, and today we're going to talk about conversion. I just want to say that in 2 weeks from now, we are planning a big event on this hour, which is going as a community to the Nova Festival exhibit in Culver City. I was there and I highly recommend to do that. But the time we were able to find is on Wednesday around the time of my class. It means we're going to be, so Rika was able to arrange 2 buses paid for by the city council and taking us at what time, like leaving at 10?
We're going to thinking earlier, maybe 9 or 9:30. We have to be there by 11.
Right.
So we want to, depending on how many
So
people.
leaving here like 9:30, and then getting there at 11, going through the exhibit of like 1 hour, then talking to one of the Nova Festival survivors there as well. And maybe even have like a box lunches, meet us somewhere along the line, and then bus would bring you back here. So you'd probably be back here, I don't know, 2, 3 o'clock, something like that.
That's what we're anticipating. We're right now, we're just working this
We're
moment.
working on the details now.
Literally, it's coming.
So
when I go downstairs, it should be done.
attuned to that, but I would like to see sort of like a show of hands of how many people think they would consider going there. Okay, that would be the 18th.
Oh, the 18th.
18th of September.
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today.
No, I won't be back here.
Okay.
You were there.
Yeah. So
I went already. But I had.
Okay, so yeah, right, and it was very powerful, right? Okay, so I think we're not gonna have the class, and because we want to encourage people to go, and I saw with a show of hands that a lot of, and bring friends, and the point is like to fill up these 2 buses. We're gonna turn also to the other communities in our area as well to join us, and you don't have to be Jewish, like anyone. On the contrary, we want to encourage.
And the buses would leave from here?
I think so, yeah.
Yes, they're
At
going
least
to
one of them.
one for sure will live from here.
And the cost, you paid, you bought did you buy a group of tickets?
We are buying a group of tickets, but they are $36 a person.
Oh,
That's
Not
right.
including the lunch.
Not including the lunch.
well, that includes the bus.
It includes the bus. Yes,
Yeah.
it includes the bus and the speaker, which is there's an extra fee for the speaker. So
Oh.
that is,
Yeah, and the
and-
entrance to the exhibit.
yeah, and there's no profit being made by anybody. As
Yeah,
a matter
no
of
one
fact,
is.
this is strictly,
Yeah.
and we're actually looking if anybody would like to donate a little bit so we can help some people. If you want to donate more, that would be great. It'll only go to that event and it'll help lower the cost for everybody. or for
Because we
specific
went Sunday
Yeah.
and I got a subsequent email, thank you for coming, blah, blah, blah. And if you want to donate more or blah, blah, blah,
Right,
there's
they
an
follow up.
option.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
follow up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to do that as a show of hands. And the rest of the dates of this class in September and October will release because they're not all going to happen every Wednesday. So please stay tuned because of the high holidays. So we are going to be canceling some of them, either because it's like Erev Chag or just me preparing for the high holidays. So today we're going to be talking about conversion, and basically, as we know, all Jewish individuals are either people that are born to Jewish mothers or people that convert to Judaism. And in recent years, in some Reformed Jewish communities, they have begun to accept children that just their father is Jewish, what we call patrilineal descent. But that has not been accepted by the Orthodox world and hasn't been accepted by the conservative world, which goes by Judaism goes by the mother, or you convert. Okay, so the next time anyone tells you that Judaism is a racist religion or anything like that, you could say, how could it be a racist if you're able to convert, okay, and become Jewish if you're not Jewish, okay? So the actual process that leads to conversion varies from community to community. However, it's a serious process and it's a serious undertaking, which is meant to indicate life-transforming decision about your religious beliefs and affiliation. So it should not something that should be taken light-headed. And although there are different reasons to convert, and throughout in the history of Judaism, people have always converted, also in the times of the Talmud, not so much in the times of the Bible. Apparently, in the time of the Bible, there was no process of conversion like we know it today, like, and we'll go through the different elements of what it is today. But you would just join the Jewish people, usually by marriage, okay? So if you would marry, and usually it would be a woman who would be marrying a Jewish man, so she would leave her parents' home and move with the man to his Jewish tribe, and that's how the conversion would happen, just like in an organic way, which is very interesting in itself. Later on, we also know that when in the times of David and Solomon, and also the Maccabees, there was sort of like coerced conversion, where the Jewish religion was the majority of the land of the entire empire that they had, which was like big parts of Mesopotamia, and they would go to different communities and tell them, you better convert, okay, or else, or they would tell them, you want to convert because then you'll be on the right side, okay, of history, or we'll make you slaves or something like that. So a lot of times there was a conversion also in that regard. That's no longer done in Judaism, and also we'll see very shortly that Judaism doesn't usually go after the converts like in Christianity. There's like the missionaries that they actively go and try to convert people. In Judaism, that doesn't exist, and we can have an interesting conversation at the end of this class today. Is that something we want to change and be more active in asking, in advertising Judaism is a great religion. Why not convert? Okay. So to convert to Judaism requires a commitment to both the Jewish religion and to the Jewish people. Okay, when you convert, I think it's kind of like unique in Judaism that when you convert to Judaism, you're not just converting a religion, you're converting and you're becoming part of a people, part of the Jewish people. And today it means you're also eligible to make aliyah, to be a member of the Jewish state. Okay, if I convert to Christianity, or if I convert to Islam, that doesn't give me any rights in being a citizen of any Christian country or Muslim country, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. That is unique to Judaism in that sense. You have all the rights that any other born Jew has. Yes?
Yeah, but only if you convert as an Orthodox Jew.
Nope,
No?
no. I will touch upon that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was the same question.
same question. Okay. Yeah, so I'll quickly answer that. If you convert into a conservative community or reform community outside of Israel, and you are a member of that community for a year, you're eligible to make aliyah and get Israeli citizenship in the state of Israel as any other Jew, as long as you have a letter from the rabbi saying, yes, this person was a member of my community for at least 1 year, and you have obviously all the conversion documents that you would need to have. You will get Israeli citizenship, okay? You will not be recognized by the Israeli chief rabbinate as someone who's Jewish, okay? So that means you are a citizen, you would be recognized as a Jew by the state of Israel, but not by the Orthodox rabbinate that controls all the religious aspects of Israeli lives, which means, weddings, divorce, etc. So that means that if you want to get married in Israel, after you've completed a conservative or reform congregation, you need to do that with a reform or conservative rabbi. Okay, and in order to be registered as someone who's married, okay, you would need to bring a civil marriage certificate from a different country. Okay, because in Israel, there's only the only way to be married is through your religious affiliation, whether you're Muslim, Christian, or Jewish. There's no other way of getting married in Israel unless you have a religion. So if you're two atheists and you want to get married in Israel, don't do that. Go to a different country. Yeah. It's like Italy in many ways. Right. Yeah.
I have a brother-in-law who, before he was married, and after, I think, the 6-Day War, I'm not sure if it was a 6-day or 73, but he went to Israel, worked on a kibbutz.
It converted? No.
And he converted.
Oh, okay. What kind of conversion?
I'm pretty sure it was Orthodox.
Okay. Yeah. So if you do an Orthodox conversion in Israel, which is recognized by the chief rabbinate, which means they do not recognize all Orthodox conversions, okay? They only recognize their rabbis, the ones that belong to their, club, as they say, and they don't recognize all rabbis, which is interesting. There's some Orthodox conversions that are done overseas that are not recognized by the Israeli chief rabbinate. So you really need to know what you're doing. For example, if you know Rabbi Lookstein and in New York, which is one of the biggest and most important Orthodox rabbis in the United States, the head of KJ, Kilat Yeshurin. And so his conversions are not recognized by the chief rabbinate because they see him as too liberal of an Orthodox rabbi. And why is this interesting knowledge? And why is he famous for doing this? Because he converted no less than Ivanka Trump. Okay. So she had an Orthodox conversion, not conservative, not reform. Okay. She had an Orthodox conversion by this rabbi, but if she makes Aliyah to Israel, they would not recognize that. Okay, so don't tell that to Trump.
Did she go through it again?
She could do whatever she wants with the money.
No, I mean, if she does something like that.
Yeah. I was told my dear friend was here last year before I came here in May. Israel Campbell gave a show here. He's a stand-up comedian.
Yes,
He's
yeah.
dressed up as a chassid, okay?
Yes.
And he went through 3 conversions.
Oh,
Okay, 2 of them here in LA. He went through a reform conversion, okay, but they didn't do hatafat dam. You remember when we talked about it last week about hatafat dam, that you have to, draw blood from the the shaft of the penis if you do a conversion. Okay, they did not do that. Okay, so but he led a Jewish life. And then he went to a conservative synagogue and he started attending there, and he wanted an aliyah, and they said, nope, you're not Jewish. We won't recognize your conversion because they didn't do it. The Reform movement did not do the minimum standards that you need to be doing. And then they made him go through a second conversion in the conservative movement with the mikveh and a bet din and the hatafat dam, the drawing of the blood. And they did it all properly. And then he met this wonderful girl, and he made aliyah to Israel, okay, and she's Orthodox though, so they wanted to, grow up their kids in an Orthodox way, but the Orthodox movement said, no, we don't recognize the conservative movement's conversion. So he went through a third conversion, and again drawing blood. And he tells this whole story in a very funny way.
Yes,
Sorry, he was
yeah.
Jewish already, it wasn't such a big deal.
What?
That he was
Yeah.
Jewish already.
Right.
You would never use
And
it.
he still remained Jewish. So it's a
Right,
crazy,
so
it's a
one in
crazy
Israel,
story.
yeah.
Did he have to go through all of the
Everything.
studying?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean,
Everything.
that would have, by
What if
that
you're
time, you'd think he
Orthodox?
would know it.
They don't, yeah.
What if you're an
Yeah.
Orthodox woman? I mean, or if you're a woman and you convert. to
So you would have to do mikveh again,
Mikveh.
and you would have to do the beit din again. Yeah,
Under the new.
yeah, under the new, beit din, wherever you would go.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they were
That most Americans don't understand that really Israel has two legal systems. It is really two separate legal systems. There's the government, the aliyah, that all that. It is one legal system. You go to the Supreme Court, etc. And then you have the rabbinic court. It's a court. And we
Well,
think of it a little bit like, well, they're
it's true, okay, but first of all, and it's a very complicated situation. However, if you think about the situation here, okay, you could get married in a civil marriage, but you wouldn't be married in a Jewish ceremony. Okay, you could get a civil divorce, and if you don't get a Jewish divorce, you can't marry anyone. Okay, you'd be deceiving the person. You could, in theory, you could marry someone, but you would go against the Jewish religion. Okay, so that part in Israel is sort of like tied together. When you get married in a Jewish way, you also get your civil marriage, okay? Because there's no separation of, religion and state in Israel.
well, there is no
Theocracy.
civil marriage. So you're not getting a civil marriage because there is no
No,
civil.
that is the civil marriage.
But there is no civil marriage. You cannot get a civil marriage in Israel. You only can
But
get
you
a
have
religious.
to be married, not just according to Jewish law, which I perform the
Right.
marriage. It's also valid halachically, but I don't have the authority to marry people, so they would be then registered as married people in the state of Israel. And then when they go abroad, they'll be registered as married. They could get a mortgage as married people, etc. So that's a civil aspect of the marriage. So yes, when you are marrying, when you are an Orthodox rabbi that has the authority to marry people in Israel, you're also performing their civil marriage,
I see
not
what
just their
you're saying.
religious aspect.
So years ago, when all the Russians immigrated to Israel,
Yeah,
they all said if they said that they were Jewish, did they? I understand that it was accepted. Did they?
so
have
a lot of them have problems. They don't accept all of them because if just the father is Jewish or the grandparents are Jewish, so they're not accepted by the Orthodox rabbinate as Jewish, and many of them have gone through conversion. The problem is that the Orthodox rabbinate is not making conversion easy either. They have a requirement which is unheard of in Jewish tradition throughout the centuries, that you need to lead an Orthodox life as well as you're converting. Okay, and you have to commit that after you convert, you will lead an Orthodox life. You will send your children to an Orthodox school. You will go to an Orthodox synagogue. That's already like so excessive. So for a lot of these Russian immigrants, they say, no, thank you. That's not what we signed on for when we came to Israel. So they're literally pushing people away with that approach. And recently it became even worse that some of the rabbis there, the more extreme ones, are revoking someone's conversion.
Wow.
Okay, so if you converted and now, let's say you stopped being observant, there's like, oh, you know what, you're not Jewish anymore, which is really outrageous. And there are a lot of Orthodox rabbis that are upset with them for doing that, but they have that political power because they're ruling these, because they have Knesset members and they're, so that's not a pleasant thing.
What did they do with
I
the,
actually planned on giving a whole lecture about the situation in Israel and and all of that. So
Well, what about,
we will have a lecture about religious pluralism in Israel one day, or maybe 2 lectures to explain that, right?
oh, do they reverse the circumcision?
Oh, yeah. No,
what about
yeah.
burial? I thought it was automatic. If you said you were Jewish, you could be buried in Israel.
Not if you're not registered as Jewish in the Orthodox
You
rabbinate.
gotta die with your papers.
Yeah, yeah.
So does Israel not recognize conservative marriages in the US?
Most of the time they don't. Okay, but that gets even more complicated because if it's 2 Jews that got married by a conservative rabbi, and so in Israel they might require a divorce, which is called lechumra, which is like just in case. Okay, so we don't recognize the marriage, but you lived together all these years and you were together and you have children, and now you're getting a divorce. So we're gonna create a divorce process for you,
Why does
just in case.
why does it marry? I mean, halachically, you only have to do certain things to be married. What difference does it make?
Because they don't recognize the conservative rabbis that do that for various reasons,
It's a very
mainly for political reasons. Yeah.
It's an exclusive religion.
Yeah, it's very divisive and obnoxious. Okay, so this commitment to the Jewish people, which now many converts might rethink if they want to go that way. Okay, it's like, I want to be part of the Jewish religion, I don't want to be a part of the Jewish people. Okay, but it doesn't happen that way. You sign, it's like, it's a 2-for-1 thing that you get, whether you like it or not. So this commitment is summed up in the words of Ruth, okay, who's the prototype righteous convert. And she, if you remember in the book of Ruth, she tells Naomi, your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Okay, so in other words, Ruth basically adopted both her mother-in-law's faith and Naomi, and in the same sentence, she also entered into the house of Israel, saying, my people is your people and your God is my God. And converts today do exactly the same thing, and they can't just be part of the Jewish people without accepting the commitment of to observe the commandments of the Torah, and they can't do the other way around. Just say, oh, I'll just observe the commandments of the Torah, but I won't be part of the Jewish people. When a person converts to Judaism, so then that individual becomes fully Jewish, and they need to be treated as Jewish in all respects. Very often, I sit with grandmothers and sometimes with grandparents, okay, but usually grandmothers are women, and they say, oh, my daughter-in-law, she's not Jewish, but she converted, and and they don't treat them as Jewish, okay? That approach has to change. Once someone converts, you cannot no longer see them as someone who is not Jewish or is partly Jewish, and you're not even supposed to treat them as a convert, okay? You can't treat them in that status. They're fully Jewish, and you shall love the proselyte, it says in Deuteronomy. And this concept was formally codified and accepted as halacha, as Jewish law for all generations. So while it is true that Jews have traditionally not sought out or encouraged conversion, in the conservative movement, we do encourage outreach to non-Jewish individuals who are married to Jews to encourage the conversions of those individuals to Judaism. So non-Jewish spouses should be encouraged to participate in synagogue life to the greatest extent possible within obviously the halachic parameters, and to learn more about Judaism. And we definitely encourage them to be potential, to bring their full potential and go through that conversion. And after they've done that conversion, not remind anyone of their past in that regard. And I know that today there's a trend of not asking people to convert because maybe it's not politically correct. You have your religion, I have my religion, etc. But I'm a strong believer and advocate that you should, approach a family member at a certain point, especially before they have children, and try to talk to them about conversion. If they have a strong conviction and they don't want to do that, that's okay. They can still be members. They're always invited to events, etc. But because they are not Jewish, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to raise the children in that regard. And I always sit with bar and bat mitzvah families, and we always work out around these issues. But I find it very interesting to see here, even here at Ner Tamid, by the amount of non-Jewish spouses that decided to convert before the children were born, and to make sure they have Jewish families. It's always, heartwarming to see.
What is the feeling now regarding groups like Jews by choice? Because it always seemed to me traditionally, once you convert, you never talk about it anymore.
That's
They're
right.
a Jew for all intents and purposes, and yet there seems to be some effort by some people to say Jews by choice.
Right. Some people say that. I use that term as well, at least since I've arrived here, because I see more and more people say that. And the real question is, what is the context? And it's done in a positive context that people say, oh, I'm a Jew by choice. Okay, I didn't convert. Convert maybe sounds more like something, with some transition, which is maybe more, I don't know, more aggressive or something like that. And Jew by choice is something that sounds maybe more appropriate for our days and times. So people use that verse, and I'm okay with that if people want to use that.
So Rabbi, you say you see people here and they have converted, and they might have a relative that they're not seeing as fully Jewish. They're Jew by choice. But I guess I'm confused because to convert, which conversion are we talking about? Did they convert as a reform, and is that then entry into Judaism? Did they convert as conservative? Is that entry? Or do they have to go Orthodox to make that entry? It's confusing.
In which framework depends. If you're in an Orthodox synagogue, they won't accept the reform and the conservative.
So you're saying if you're in a conservative in a reform synagogue and you converted there, whatever I don't know the parameters.
Everyone would accept you.
So the conservative will accept you and Orthodox will accept you? Or no?
Orthodox would not accept you. Conservative would accept you depending on what was done in the conversion.
So
if they did not do hatafat dam, withdrawing of the blood, and they didn't do a mikveh, and they didn't do, a beit din, so there's a problem.
So do you actually
conversion.
ask somebody when they come to you and they say, I have children or grandchildren and my daughter-in-law is not Jewish? Do you actually say, or my son-in-law is not Jewish? You actually say that they converted in another way? You actually ask them? Did you?
Only it depends on the context. Okay. If it's for a wedding, yes, I would ask.
And if they're already married and they're members of the temple, do you ask them then? How do we deal?
No, it really depends on the context. Okay. And if it's for bar mitzvah and they say they've converted, I personally don't ask.
You just said Baruch Hashem,
yeah.
welcome. That's how I feel
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Anybody who wants to be Jewish, come on
Yeah,
over.
but if it's a
We don't have
young,
enough.
It's so difficult.
but if it's a young couple that now is coming to get married and
Yeah.
the reform conversion was not done properly, then we would have to go through some kind of a completion of a conversion process. It wouldn't be studying in a course for a whole year, but it would be, maybe going to the mikveh again. or
Work it
something like
out.
that. You work it out.
Don't
Yeah.
they, if you don't go to the mikveh, don't people dunk in the ocean or something?
Oh, that's going to the mikveh. That's the same.
Oh, it is?
It's just the biggest mikveh in the world.
This is really-
I like that.
Yeah.
It's good.
It is. It's right near us.
Yeah.
And it's cold. Especially at 6 a.m, because you don't want to go to the mikveh.
You have
Yeah.
to be naked and go down,
Yeah,
so
so
that's
you- yeah.
complicated.
Yeah, we had kids. We did in July. It was still freezing, but
Yeah.
at least we did in
So
July.
if man or woman who has converted Orthodox, acceptable Orthodox, whatever it is,
Yeah,
stops, let's, in the worst case, being kosher at home, would they be excommunicated?
not in America. Not- and also not in Israel, okay? Okay, it would only come up if, and this, it's kind of like sad, but it would only come up in a court, in a rabbinic court, if there's an issue. Let's say now this couple wants to get a divorce, okay? And let's say the man who's Jewish, he's gonna talk bad about his wife that he wants to divorce. And he's gonna say, oh, she stopped being observant ever since she converted, etc., etc., etc. So they might use it against her in that regard and revoke her conversion. So it won't just come up without a reason. Okay, it comes up usually in a court, yeah.
But
They don't have like a hotline. You call and say, oh, this person stopped being kosher. I shouldn't give anyone ideas. Yeah.
I always thought that the
We're
grounds,
not watching my lessons in Orthodox law, don't
the
worry.
grounds for divorce in Judaism were very flexible. The rabbis recognized even if something appears
Yeah,
to
but
be
Larry, we're not
trivial.
talking about divorce yet. We're still converting.
Now you brought it up, so.
Now you're gonna get to know me.
You have to get to marriage before you can get
Yeah,
a divorce.
right. Okay. In order to convert to Judaism, so you need to participate in a program of learning under the supervision of Rabbi. The American Jewish University, for example, has a conversion program which is adequate for the entire, Southern California region for the conservative movement. So we send a lot of people there. And also, being in this class also is part of the reason we did this class to also encourage people who want to go through conversion. The period of studying is determined by the rabbi or the rabbinic organization that's offering the program. Usually it's at least, half a year, a significant amount of time of learning. The learning should not be specifically for the purpose of a conversion, nor should there be any prior agreement saying, if you go through this, we will convert you, okay? It's basically, people are potentially interested in Judaism study of the Torah, and then they decide after that if they wish to adopt it on their own. Okay, so it's an important thing not to condition it when you enter this course. And if they do, then they proceed with the rest of the requirements. And if not, so there's no commitment undertaken neither by the individual or by the rabbi to convert the person.
Is there a test?
Yes, yes, there is a test, and that mainly, the test is mainly the Bet Din. We're gonna talk about that in a moment.
Do you find that those who have gone through the study for conversions are actually more knowledgeable about Judaism?
They are.
Than you
They are.
born?
They are.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it's
Yeah.
quite embarrassing.
So, for who?
My son-in-law converted and my daughter took the classes with him, and the rabbi spoke to me and told me
Uh-huh.
that he was certainly the better student.
Very, very often I hear that the spouse has much more knowledge of Judaism, especially if, if the Jewish partner, their last educational interactions when they were kids.
Yeah.
And they don't remember much from what they've learned, and this is now an adult learning. Okay, so there are numerous courses of study recommended for potential converts. The standard curriculum will include instruction of basic Jewish history, understanding the history of the people you're joining, the customs and ceremonies of Jewish life, just like we're doing now, going over, what a wedding is and a bar mitzvah is, and life cycle events, and keeping kosher and keeping Shabbat, etc. A basic understanding of the Jewish Bible, okay, the Hebrew Bible, as they say, an introduction to Jewish liturgy, which means knowing how to open a prayer book and understanding, the basic prayers, etc., and some lessons in reading Hebrew, okay, recognizing the alphabet, etc. So at the end of the learning period, if both the supervising rabbi and the potential convert agree, then the conversion may be scheduled. The conversion procedure itself, after the studying session, is slightly different for women and men. An appearance before a Bet Din, a rabbinic court of at least 3 rabbis, is required for both. And so is a supervised visit to the mikveh, the ritual bath. And in addition, for men, uncircumcised men must be circumcised, and men who have already been circumcised must go under the ritual that's known as Hatafat Dam Brit, which we talked about before when we had our conversion class, which is the withdrawal of the blood that we talked about. And both of these procedures usually precede the immersion in the mikveh. The last thing you do is the mikveh. So you have the Beit Din, the court, the rabbinic court. You have the Hatafat Dam, or the circumcision, and then for men, and then you have the mikveh for both of them, which makes you Jewish.
Are there
The
several
Beit Din,
Beit Dins within the LA area?
you form an ad hoc
Oh,
Bet Din. Okay, you assemble 3 rabbis. It's not always easy to find 3 rabbis that are available, and they could go to the American Jewish University or to the ocean at 6 in the morning. So you have to work on that and schedule that, but that's what you do.
So it's not a permanent.
It's not a permanent Beit Din, but there is Rabbi Dan Shevitz, who's like the head of the Beit Din, and he helps get these organize it. Yeah,
May I tell you a brief story about one of our members?
sure.
Was marrying somebody that went to conversion. Of course, you mentioned the big mikvah we have here in Torrance. And they went down to the mikvah, and the woman looked at the fella that was gonna be her husband, and she was a little afraid of waves and stuff, and it was a little rough. So she said to him, "Would you come in with me?" This is a true story. And he said, fine. He was not afraid. So they walked in, and a big wave came. Of course, she had me dunked, and she went down and she said, "Oh, Jesus."
It was absolutely true.
Which,
He was out
They
there.
didn't walk on water, I guess.
Yeah, everybody knew it at the time.
That
It
is-
was
but it
really
was a very
hysterical.
true story.
I love so the Beit Din consists of 3 rabbis, and they're responsible for overseeing the conversion process. Under some circumstances, two observant Jewish individuals may also help form a Beit Din together with a supervising rabbi. And that happens in remote communities where it's hard to find three rabbis. So you take two observant Jews, sometimes you take a cantor and then you would do something like that. But it is preferable to have all three of them rabbis. It is their responsibility at the Beit Din to question potential converts to determine the sincerity of their commitment. Okay, so you question a few times, you could question the convert, are you serious about this? Do you really want to go through with this? You ask the convert at least 3 times in different ways. Then they need to check the level of their knowledge. So you start asking them different questions about, kosher, how many candles you light on Hanukkah. Okay, do you light all 8 of them the first day or just one?
Ask them whether they follow Beit Hillel or Beit Shammai.
Right. Well, if they're really knowledgeable, then they might know that as well. And if they could recite the Shema or some basic stuff like that, so they really go through that process, and also their overall suitability for conversion. Okay, because one has to be mentally stable to do that, especially if you're crazy enough to join the Jewish people. So you need to have that mental stability within you, and also converting for the right reasons. Okay.
Question about that.
Yeah.
Hebrew language. And you need for knowledge of set.
Basic, recognizing the letters and knowing some basic words. Okay. Yes.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Kind of back to rescinding that. Did the Maccabees use the fact that that there were many Israelites who had a reversal of the circumcision in accordance with Hellenistic? Did they use that as the reason for their execution of those people?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think it was easier to kill them than to convert them again.
What does that sound for?
Now, a commitment to halacha, to Jewish law, is required of every convert. And the Beit Din, the court of 3 rabbis, may question the potential convert concerning many aspects of Jewish life. And the reason for that is just to make sure that the convert is ready for the conversion process. As noted before, male converts must undergo circumcision, and we talked about the hatafat dam, the drawing of a drop of blood, that is done by a doctor. But in any event, you need to say the blessings of the conversion. You say the blessings of the conversion. And we talked about that, right?
Does the person who is actually doing the operation have to be knowledgeable about the prayers?
If they're not, so you need a rabbi presenting. Yeah, right. There are different opinions as to whether the hatafat dam is to be accompanied by a blessing. Okay, why should there be a question if the guy should do a blessing on that or not?
It's accepting the
because he hasn't done the mikveh yet, and he's not Jewish yet, right? So the supervising rabbi should make that determination. If, however, a blessing is recited, so it ends with Asher Kichanu Tzivanu Lamul et Hager, who has commanded us concerning the circumcision of converts. Okay, so that is sort of like, right?
Last word, I didn't get it.
Ger, which means a convert. Okay, so in the case of Jewish parents adopting a newborn boy, so the conversion begins with a Brit Milah ceremony, And the blessings are those for conversion, and at a later date, after the circumcision has healed, the boy is brought to a mikveh to complete the conversion. And but there's no assertion of mitzvot, and there's no beit din for a minor. Okay, so you don't, so even if they're 10 years old and they know and they are smart and they go to school and they're smart enough, they don't have to go through a beit din in that regard. They could be converted without the beit din. They do have the privilege, by the way, which is interesting, at their bar mitzvah time to denounce their Judaism. Renounce, okay? Meaning they go back to their parents and say, I reject Judaism. It's a renounce?
Renounce.
Yeah, they reject the Jewish religion. They could do that when they become a bar mitzvah.
Huh.
Okay, because it was forced on them without, yeah.
Why
Yeah.
would you reject Judaism on your bar mitzvah?
Don't even tell them.
You don't have to tell them, but they come to the meeting with the rabbi and say, I don't know why my parents consider me. I don't want to be a bar mitzvah. I don't want to be Jewish. You know, so
Well,
you would
that's
have to, I would have to have a serious talk with them and get their parents, you know, to financially threaten the kid that they will disown them. But if they're insisting, so you can't keep them Jewish.
Is there any?
It's only for minors.
Is
It
there any?
cannot happen for adults.
Oh.
So if an adult converts and 10 years
You're out
later
of
says
luck.
like, I don't want to be Jewish anymore. Nope, tough luck. You're Jewish, it never goes out of you.
Is there any difference if the adoption was from Jewish parents?
Can you go?
Are they, this,
Well,
the
if we
child will
know,
be considered Jewish, right?
yeah,
then
if
you
we
wouldn't
know that
convert
these parents are Jewish,
You don't
Okay.
convert the kid.
they're Jewish.
You're Jew-
He's
you're
Jewish.
Jew.
You don't need to convert them anymore. Okay? So as stated above, immersion in a kosher mikveh is required of all converts, adults, and juveniles. A kosher mikveh is a formal ritual bath facility, or it may be a body of water suitable for use in this way, an ocean, a river, or a not natural pond, okay, not a reservoir, which is handmade. Okay, all of these could be suitable mikveh, especially if like a formal mikveh is not accessible. And the purpose of the mikveh is really to symbolize a new beginning in one's life. When you convert to Judaism, what we say is you're spiritually reborn into a Jewish faith. So that immersion in the mikveh is like washing away your old religion, and now you are accepting in a symbolic way the rebirth into the Jewish faith. At the mikveh, male and female potential converts must remove all clothes, makeup, jewelry, sunglasses, eyeglasses, contact lenses, hairpins, bandages, and anything else that could serve as a small barrier between the waters of the mikveh and the body of the individual. When I studied these halachot of what constitutes a barrier, we go into the questions is, do implants serve as that, okay, or teeth, bridges, etc. Do you have to take any of these off? The question is usually no, you don't, unless they're very easily removed on a daily basis. Then you do, okay?
So I don't have to worry about my titanium needle.
Yeah, you can keep that. And once undressed, the potential convert then enters the water and completely immerses in it 3 times. And they're, the convert, if it's a female, and the rabbi is a male, so the male rabbi goes outside of a room and there's a female attendant that supervises her immersion while the men remain outside a closed door. I had that once in New York, so there was like a woman who was going through conversion, so we were 3 rabbis and we were behind the door, and there was a woman inside the mikveh that was assisting her, and she yelled to us all the time the blessing so we could hear her, but we could not see her. And similarly, the same thing if it's a female rabbi, so she would be on the other side of the door. Before the final act of the immersion, the convert recites 2 blessings, which is Baruch Atah Adonai Melech Haolam Asher Kitanu Tzivanu V'Tzivanu Al Atvila. Praise are you, God, sovereign of the universe, who sanctifying us with the divine commandments, has commanded us with concerning immersion. Okay, and then the Shechianu blessing for something new. You've adopted a new religion, so this is your first mitzvah, so you say a Shechianu for the first time. Okay, the procedure is not invariable, however, and it varies from rabbi to rabbi with respect to the local custom. And this is a little bit tricky. Some rabbis instruct the potential converts to immerse themselves 3 times and then to recite the blessing, while others instruct the would-be converts to immerse themselves once, say the first blessing, immerse the second time, and to say the second blessing, and only then immerse themselves a 3rd time. Okay, all of this is done because of the question is when exactly do you become Jewish? Okay, do you become Jewish after the immersion or after the blessings? And it's a little bit complicated in that regard.
Rabbi, is this,
Especially because you say, the convert says the word, who has sanctified us with divine commandments. So can we say that before that they are obliged by the mitzvah, by the commandments before they did the immersion? Okay, so interesting question.
Am I
Is
glad
this-
that my mother was Jewish and I didn't have to go through all that?
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah,
Is-
much
was
as-
it-
yeah, just-
is this- Were these procedures discussed in the Talmud or later dates?
These specific ones were, I think, in a later date. Okay. By the way, there's some rabbis that encourage one to do 7 times. Okay, because according to Kabbalah, to the Zohar, you're supposed to do it 7 times. So they're very different traditions, but halachically, 1 time is enough. Okay,
What are you talking about, the dunking?
the dunking.
Immersion.
So today the custom is 3 times, but 1 is enough. And 7 is also nice if you have the energy to go down.
Yeah.
Um,
The waves coming over.
the convert is then welcomed into the Jewish people after they dry up from the mikvah. And the ceremony itself includes reading of the conversion documents and a declaration of faith, and the assigning of a Jewish name follows. Okay, so when we sat with a convert, she had to sign papers also that she is renouncing any other religions. She will not say Jesus anymore. Okay, I mean,
Hey, Jesus was Jewish, wasn't he?
yeah. And even if she says the name, it won't be in a religious context. Okay.
Italy didn't exist.
And also, the signing of a Jewish name could be suggested by the rabbi or chosen by the convert. The name should be carefully chosen, however, because it will be associated with that individual receiving it for the rest of his or her life. And actually even longer than that, because that name will also be written on the gravestone of that person and will be used by their children as well. And I strongly advise when choosing a Jewish name to consult with a rabbi. A lot of time parents choose or converts choose names that don't always make sense. And also names that are, don't forget we have a Jewish state where everyone speaks Hebrew. And if you come with a very uncommon name, weird or laughable at, you might be, ridiculed for a strange name. And I have encountered strange names.
This more
All
likely
along.
from people, say, coming from other parts of the world where customs and traditions are somewhat
What
different.
kind of weird name?
Weird names that I've encountered. Wow. That's a
I can
good
give you one,
question.
Rabbi.
Yeah,
A very nice woman that we all know. Her name was Zona.
wow.
What
does
that mean?
Wow.
Only you called her Zona. You all know Zona. And
Yeah.
so she was Zona. Zona
Yeah.
means a whore. She was
Oh.
the loveliest woman you can imagine, and all over Israel.
Yeah.
Oh,
People
right
just
on the-
start
Everybody's
bursting out
yelling,
laughing.
Zona,
Yeah.
Zona, Zona. Israelis are looking like, what is this?
Yeah, right. It's like when when Israeli is called a nut. And comes here to Israel, to America, and everyone says a nut, like she's a nut.
And
We got
I have,
out of the elevator, my family, and there was a man with a name tag that was RJ Putz. And so you have this entire family on the floor in the elevator.
But that's not a Hebrew name.
That's not-
That's a Yiddish name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have an acquaintance who's a doctor, whose last name is Schmuck.
There
Oh
you
my
go.
God.
Yes, yes. Well,
That's not good. Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
that the jams that are now called Smuckers
Yeah.
used to be labeled Schmuckers.
Yeah, boss.
Yeah. when-
If you are taking a Jewish name and could you, on the suggestion of somebody, perhaps from the family you were married into, would you be named after an ancestor? Perhaps, like somebody's grandmother who had died, but nobody had been named after her, or just,
You could, if that person feels, that's a nice thing for them to do. I would not necessarily recommend that. Unless there's a very strong feeling in the family, I would encourage the individual to take on their own name and not carry someone else.
well, it could be
deceased.
maybe a grandmother she met going through the conversion and the grandmother died.
Maybe, yeah, that's possible.
And that's how they
But in
actually
terms of names, also a lot of times people take boys' names like Avram and they try to convert it to a female form and it doesn't work. Okay, right? Yeah, so there are different things like that. A full Jewish name traditionally includes the name of one's fathers, but converts do not have Jewish parents. So because they are considered newly born into the Jewish faith, they are called the daughter of Avraham Avinu and Sarah Imenu. Okay, Abraham, our father, and Sarah, our mother. Why Abraham and Sarah? Because they are considered the founders of our religion. So when sometimes when a convert is called up to the Torah, so they would say their name, and they would say daughter of Abraham and Sarah, or son of Abraham and Sarah, or they would say Avraham Avinu or Sarah Imenu. This practice, okay, is interesting that you could also just say Avraham and Sarah without Avinu, our father, or without Imenu, our mother, since there are a lot of people in the community, in the Jewish community, that are called Abraham and Sarah. And if you don't say Avinu and our father, or Imenu, our mother, you're sort of like protecting the privacy of the convert. Not everyone needs to know that they're a convert, because as we opened up our session today, when you convert, you don't need to be reminded of that.
When you sign your name, do you add that? Of your new.
Yeah, so you sign your Jewish name.
You send home.
Hmm?
You add that.
Yeah,
Write it down.
yeah, son of Abraham and Sarah.
Yeah, but some
Okay.
people have the name of an Abraham. That's normal.
Yeah, that's a normal Jewish name.
So,
So the same
So
rules,
Lincoln Street.
oh, I have a question.
yeah,
So you become a Jew by choice and your non-Jewish parent dies? You said Shiva because you're a Jewish person for a non-Jew?
wait, we're gonna get to that, okay? So the same rule of conversion applies to adopted infants or older children. The only difference is that they do adopt their adopting parents' names, okay? So although legally these minors should be having the name of Abraham and Sarah, okay, they do have Jewish parents that converted them. So to honor their Jewish parents, they use their Jewish names, okay? And that also makes sense, because not only you don't want to let a person know they converted, also that they're adopted. That's like like an extra burden to deal with. As per the CJLS, you remember what the CJLS is? The Committee on Jewish Law and Standards of the Conservative Movement. In 1998, a responsa written by Rabbi Joel Rembaum,
Oh,
okay, adopted in the entire conservative movement. Converts to Judaism may observe all mourning rituals for their non-Jewish relatives, both during the Shiva week and during the Shloshi month or year-long secondary mourning period that follows, which is the Yortzeit. So they could say it's Kaddish, they could say Shiva. This also includes the right to say Kaddish for a non-Jewish partner. Okay, so that was a very interesting, not all conservative rabbis accepted it, but being it coming from California, where it's like more liberal, so not a lot of the East Coast synagogues do not necessarily accept it, but more and more accept it, and it's a very well-written response.
when the law committee makes a decision, even though there's a majority minority opinion, not all rabbis have to follow it.
No, it's rabbis could choose what they want to do. The conservative Judaism also rejects the Orthodox notion that converts need to sever their ties of affection and allegiance to their non-Jewish parents. Okay, to the contrary, showing respect for the memory of a devoted parent is a mitzvah of the Torah. And the fact that the parent was not Jewish is considered irrelevant in the conservative movement. The conservative movement also adheres to the policy of conversion in accordance with Jewish law. This means that study, which means the interview before the Beit Din, and the visit to the mikveh and circumcision for males are all required. The Reform movement does not consider immersion in a mikveh a mandatory for all converts. They don't all require the conversion or the atafat dam, and so that's why there is a difference between the conservative and Reform movement. Yeah, so I explained the difference between those conversions, and I also explained that conservative rabbis don't always accept the Reform conversion. Orthodox rabbis don't always accept conservative conversions, and so on, and that affects also your ability to make aliyah, as I explained before, according to the law of return, in case of a non-Jewish spouse converting to Judaism, it is recommended that a formal Jewish wedding takes place after the conversion, okay, because that couple never really married according to Jewish law. So we would encourage them to have a Jewish wedding, and persons considering conversion are encouraged to also look at the book Embracing Judaism. Oh, I brought it last week. I forgot to bring it this week, but it's in my office. And there are other, very good books that are recommended, including the chapter in the Observant Life that I had talked about. So this is it about conversion. Any other questions? Yeah,
I have a question.
yes,
When I first moved to the South
Rabbi-
Bay,
yeah, yes,
anyway, took my kids to Chabad for daycare. And they just said, "Are you Jewish?" I said, "Yeah," and that was it.
okay.
You don't have to how do they know I'm Jewish? Because, do we never have to prove our heritage? I mean, they said, "Your mom Jewish?" I said, "Yeah," and all the way down. No.
Well, I think that if now you would want a Chabad rabbi to marry, then they would have more questions.
Oh,
You might ask for a ketubah of your parents, maybe your ketubah, like wedding document. Yeah,
I'm sure my parents didn't have a picture.
Have to have.
Really?
You know,
interesting.
I didn't have a wedding license. I didn't have a-
Yeah, it's usually.
Yeah,
it's
I would know. There you go.
Black people letters on.
Okay,
Well,
got
it's
married
the
in a
contract.
synagogue?
No, I know, when you go down to City Hall, you apply for a license. And, somehow, I don't know, over the years, it just never happened. I had a ketubah, but I didn't have a marriage license.
Oh.
You have to go back and get it.
Yeah, but your marriage license does not
Yeah,
say
well,
for
when I
Jewish or not.
applied, LA City Schools was looking to make sure everybody that was getting insurance was married.
Hmm.
And my ketubah was a legal document.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so there's different ways to do that.
That's what.
So
Okay, there was a question on the Zoom?
yes, I want to know if tattoos are a barrier for conversion.
What?
Tattoos.
No, tattoos are not a barrier for conversion, nor is it a barrier for a burial.
Is it ever?
You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to scare people that, we won't bury you if you have, that, but no, it's not. The only question is a tattoo considered a barrier for the mikveh? Maybe that was your question? And the ruling is that it's not considered a barrier by most rabbis.
Yeah, there's a member here who has this son who's covered in tattoos.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I strongly object to having tattoos as a Jew. I mean, my personal, but I strongly reject that. So if anyone that comes to consult with me about, doing tattoos, I strongly encourage
Especially
them
if
not
it's
to.
a
So
big
that-
cross.
Yeah,
So that philosophy, you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery if you,
it's not true.
it's not true.
Yeah.
Probably not an Orthodox cemetery.
No, even in Orthodox.
Really?
Yeah.
Because then how could you?
Rabbi, I'm
For people with numbers.
Right.
Well, that's not, that's
I'm not a-
that's
Okay,
not a tattoo